Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing the differences or the distinctions between working in the USA and working in Nigeria. And as somebody who has done both, I think I'm very well equipped to talk about this and also to kind of paint a picture or paint a perspective of what it's like as a Nigerian working in a functioning system. No shade to Nigeria, but we all know how things get down there. Anyway, I think these kinds of videos are fun to do because it's just nice to see the differences between what happens in one part of the world and what happens in another part of the world. And as much as I can, I think I'm going to try to, I can't promise this, but I'm going to try to highlight both the advantages and disadvantages of both places. So before we get into it, please give this video a thumbs up. Please also subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. So in America, something I've noticed is that the work culture is very friendly, but I think Americans in general are friendly people. You can be in an elevator or something and people will try to make small talk with you. You walk down on the streets, if you make eye contact with a stranger, they're smiling at you. I think it's a cultural thing, and I've said this before that it doesn't even matter the race of the person. They're just going to be nice to you and just say hi or just nod or just smile at you, right? It's something that I noticed. I remember when I first came and I would be like, why are they smiling at me? Because I'm such a Nigerian, and in Nigeria everybody's always so angry. So it was kind of like a culture shock to see that strangers just smile at you, and it's really nice actually. Like, it kind of, especially if you live in the Midwest, it kind of gives you, the Midwest and in the South, it kind of gives you hope that, oh, okay, people are still very decent. That friendliness culture or that characteristic also translates, or it transitions into the work culture as well. People are very, in as much as they are formal, they're professional and all that stuff, they're still very friendly. So like when you go out with your coworkers for, like, let's say, a team bonding or something of that sort, people share their personal lives. You talk about your personal lives with people. At first I wasn't really comfortable doing that, especially in my sales job, because I'm just like, my personal life is my personal life. I don't need to bring that into work. But I have noticed that if you want to get ahead, you not only need to do that sometimes. Like, I'm not saying like you need to put out all your business on blast, but you need to be very open. Does that make sense? Like, people need to know some stuff about you personally. Like, you need to be a personable person. I think if I would compare that to Nigeria, I think to some extent, right, and I can't speak for all of Nigeria because I only worked in a particular sector, but I think to some extent people are friendly. When I was working my first job after my undergraduate degree, the company I was working in was actually very, very friendly. Like, I still talk to some people from there till today. My experience was different, but from what I hear from other people, sometimes work environments might be hostile. So I think it just depends on where you are, but my own personal experience wasn't like that. It wasn't a hostile working environment. It was just very strict. We had lots of work to do. It was really strict, but it was also very friendly, because even when we have work parties and stuff like that, everybody would just loosen up. So I think in Nigeria there's also the layer of that, oh, this person is older than you, so you need to respect them. And I don't think you need to respect somebody because of their age. I think you need to respect somebody because they're a human being who deserves to be treated with dignity. Do you get what I mean? But in Nigeria, there's kind of this culture of kissing someone else's feet, like sucking up to people and kissing people's asses. In America, it's not really like that. Like, I guess people might do it, right? But it's more of a friendly thing. In Nigeria, it's just so, I don't know how to put it, but I'm not trying to demarcate my country, as people will say. So that's just like a distinction between the two. Another work culture here in the US is punctuality. You need to be on time. Like, they don't joke with time here. If a meeting is going to start by 7:59, people are already inside the meeting room. So they're very, very punctual. They don't joke with punctuality. I remember my former manager at my internship, if somebody was late, he would he would call it out, but not in a hostile way. He would just be disappointed, like, why are you late? And he was never late to work. So they take punctuality very, very seriously. In Nigeria, I would say they do too, to some extent. Like if you work in a very strict corporate environment, maybe like in a bank or something, you need to be very, on time. And even other businesses that are not in quotes, quote unquote, corporate, right? Maybe for lack of a better term, more local businesses, they still take those things seriously. Like, obviously, they don't want you to be like tardy or coming to work late and stuff like that. But I also think that to some extent it's slightly flexible in Nigeria, and this doesn't apply to the entire country. It just depends on the job you're doing. Maybe work starts at 8. If you come in at 8:01 or 8:02, it's not really a problem because we still have African time or Nigerian time. It's not a good thing, it's good to be punctual, but there is kind of some allowance for that because you also know that people are coming from traffic, people have children. Life is not very easy for most people. Because every time I talk, I realize that I'm talking from a place of, privilege and opportunity, but the vast majority of Nigerians don't have that, and this is just me keeping it a buck. So I don't think that they crack down so much on you being punctual. It's not like they're going to allow you to be like 1 hour late to work or something, but if you're just like a few minutes late, then I don't think it's, well, this is from what I know, okay? Don't take my word for it. My third point is that in the US, you have a lot more advanced tools for things. You have materials that can actually take you through your workday, and these are things that are not there. It's not really a big deal, right? It's like to have 24/7 Wi-Fi, to have 24/7 electricity. It's not really a big deal here because it's like, what else is it supposed to be? That's kind of what the norm is expected to be. Whereas in Nigeria, the tiniest things can just frustrate you if you're somebody who works from home, or if you're somebody who maybe creates content, stuff like that. Electricity can just mess with you. If you pay for Wi-Fi, if you pay for data, it's expensive and it finishes so quickly. Do you understand? So those tiny things really get in the way of people's productivity in Nigeria. Whereas in America, you have everything you need to be productive. For instance, right now, I'm filming in the house, filming after work hours. There is electricity. I don't need to worry about anything. I live by myself. And this is actually one of the reasons why I wanted to live by myself, because I can't imagine doing this and living with someone else, like sharing an apartment. No. So that's neither here nor there. You just have a lot of more advanced tools to work with. And that's what I really like, that you can plan out your time. And it's so, as a Nigerian, right, when you come to this country and you are, working hard, getting out the mud, and I'm not saying that Americans don't work hard. Americans work really, really, really hard, okay? People are working 2-3 jobs. They work really hard. But as a Nigerian, it's kind of different because you've come from a dysfunctional society. So So when you see that you can actually plan out the number of hours you work and calculate how much you're going to earn by the end of 2 weeks or by the end of a month or something, and you can use that to basically plan out your life, it just hits differently. Do you understand what I mean? So, oh my gosh, no shade to Nigeria, no shade to Americans, but it's just, it's just what it is. That's like a very huge cultural difference, if you will, and I hope that one day Nigeria can get to the point where people are paid hourly and paid what they deserve, if that makes sense. Still staying on the topic of, having things to help you to be productive, America also has a lot of jobs that you don't really see sometimes at home. Like, there's a ton of opportunities for work here. Personally, I'm not interested in any work that I don't enjoy. If I don't enjoy a job, I don't want to work that job. And that's just me. But there are a lot of people who just see a job as a job, like just go do it, come back, and that's fine. But my own philosophy is that I don't want to do something that I don't enjoy because I'm going to be miserable. So there's tons of opportunities here. Like yesterday, I had an interview with a project manager, and he was telling me how there's still room for lots of hydrographic surveyors. I don't think it's a fairly new industry, but like the industry is still looking for people to do that. So that's like a job opportunity that I don't even hear about in Nigeria. Maybe people do that. Maybe I'm just ignorant, but I'm just using that as an example to say that there's a ton of things to do here that can help you to be productive. So my next point is hustle culture. And I think that this one actually applies to both the USA and to Nigeria, because the USA is very, like, there's something that they call the rat race. I don't think the rat race is like unique to America, but I'm just saying that you see it a lot here. You see people hustling and getting out the mud, working long, tireless hours and trying to, make ends meet. And that's why I said that Americans are actually very, very hardworking. This is a capitalist society. They like money, and people are going to work to make that money. You see, we have public holidays sometimes, and people are still working on public holidays. Like on Juneteenth, people are working. Do you understand what I mean? So it's very hustly. There's just that work mentality. And I think in Nigeria, it manifests in a different way. Like Nigeria also has that hustle culture, but it manifests itself in the form of entrepreneurship. A lot of people have side hustles, side businesses and stuff like that just to get them through the month. And because like people don't have jobs as well, so they kind of rely on entrepreneurship to give them their daily bread and stuff like that. So a lot of people are also really hustling and grinding really, really hard in Nigeria. So that's kind of a similarity that I've noticed between America and Nigeria. And it's no surprise that when Nigerians come here, they tend to do really, really well, because the Nigerians you see are always very hardworking, always willing to just put in the work and get it done. America is like that. Like if you come to this country and you're like that, they're gonna like you. So I think that's a similarity that both countries share, and it's really interesting. It has its downsides, because in Nigeria, for instance, a lot of people who open businesses are not necessarily great business people. They don't know how to run businesses, right? They talk to customers anyhow. They do some kinds of things that are very, very questionable. And maybe they're just even doing it to survive and not for the love of it, or not for the love of trying to solve a problem. And that's kind of like a quote-unquote disadvantage. In America, on the other hand, you see that people are very exhausted by the rat race and by the hustle culture. Inflation is high, you're struggling to make ends meet, so you're working 2-3 jobs and you barely have any time for yourself, and you're just tired. Like I read a story on one of all these social media blog posts places about a lady that worked so hard that she tweeted, "Oh, I need to rest," something like that, and she went to bed and didn't wake up. She worked really long hours, went to bed and just didn't wake up. Very, very scary. So people are literally working till they die, and that's just kind of, it's just what it is. On one hand, it's good because you're hardworking, you get things done, you know how to think through a problem, but on the other hand, it can be very, very exhausting. Another thing that I have noticed here in the States is that there are very clear-cut labor laws, and there are laws that also protect employees. So whenever you start a new job, you have to read through some documents or even watch some videos, because they are going to educate you on your rights and say that, okay, if you are being sexually harassed at work, or something, you just find yourself caught in something bad, you need to talk and speak up. There are protective laws that protect people. Like if you're into construction and stuff like that, we have something called OSHA. I've forgotten the full meaning of OSHA. I'll put it on the screen, right? So OSHA is there to also, protect employees, and just for safety reasons. Do you understand what I mean? Whereas in Nigeria, I think that Nigeria is now coming up to speed, because even when I was in HR, there were so many rules and so many, okay, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do, this is how this is how we handle conflict at the workplace. Do you understand? So if you work in a quote-unquote proper corporate setting in Nigeria, you also see that as well. But there's also a ton of office politics in Nigeria, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist here in America. I haven't encountered that in America. yet. I don't know. But there's a ton of office politics in Nigeria to where, Nigeria is a racially homogeneous country, right? But ethnically, we are very, very diverse. So I think parts of that also play into office politics, and it just makes it so frustrating. In America, though, I'm not sure what office politics is like. It can be very cutthroat. I know that corporate America can be very, very cutthroat as well. But that's neither here nor there. And I'm not going to speak too much on something I don't know. But as far as I know, there are a lot of labor laws that protect people. So in Nigeria, we say if you do anyhow, you see anyhow. Meaning if you don't behave yourself, like, you get the consequences. Like, if you behave anyhow, you see anyhow. In Nigeria as well, like, you have cases of employers just, I don't want to demarcate my country, but it's just what it is. And these are just the distinctions. Like I said, when you come from a dysfunctional country into a system that actually works, you can really see the clear-cut differences between how things are supposed to be and how things are very dysfunctional. My last point is that in America here, networking feels more professional and it feels more organic. I think it's more of a networking thing, like, talking to your manager, going out for drinks and stuff like that. All of that is networking. So you still network even within a company. They might have that in Nigeria. I'm sure that some companies do to some extent. The proper word I would use to describe that in Nigeria would be socializing and just gisting and banter. So for instance, we talk openly about politics in Nigeria. In America here, politics is very, very dicey here right now. So people try not to bring that up because it's such a polarizing topic. But in Nigeria, everybody kind of knows what it is, right? We talk and we say, oh, this Tinubu economy, this Tinubu administration. Tinubu is our president. Our illegitimate president at that. People talk openly and say, oh, in this Tinubu's economy, oh, how much are you guys paying for school? We talk about politics openly in Nigeria, right? We talk about the state of Nigeria and how things are very, very dysfunctional in office settings. It's not unheard of to do that. And now, whether that's professional or unprofessional is up to whoever wants to dissect that part of the conversation. But for the most part, it's not very out of place to do that. And so people socialize based on that. If you have children and your colleagues also have children, that's also a way for you guys to bond. If people are married and, there's another person who is married, that's also another way for people to bond with each other. If somebody is single and maybe they need friends, because in Nigeria, I think, in as much as there's a lot of office politics, if you see your peers, like people who are your age mates and they seem to be okay people, you become friends with them over time. That's why I'm such a huge champion of making friends from the workplace, especially if they are reasonable people. But that's up for debate for a lot of people. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but it is what it is. There's also a lot of banter and a lot of gist. I just remembered something in my former company. There's a lot of banter and a lot of gist that happens in the Nigerian setting, and that's kind of what makes it unique and very interesting as well. I'm not knocking it. I think it's good because sometimes Nigeria is a very hard country to live in, so you need some kind of comic relief. You need some kind of comic relief, and you get that from your colleagues. Like, there's always a class clown. Oh my God, we had so many. There's always somebody who makes the atmosphere lighter, and you want people like that around you because it makes work less boring, and that's what I really like. We're very funny people if you live around us. By and large, I think that both of these countries obviously are very, very different, and our different cultures also come into play at the workplace, right? And sometimes you can debate that, okay, this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. There are things that we have in common, right? But at the end of the day, I think all of this might just boil down to individual experiences, and that's even what I'm giving you here. I try to be as neutral as possible and just say things the way they are, but for the most part, there are things that you can actually pick apart and say that, okay, this is a fact of what happens here and this is a fact of what happens there. So with that being said, we've come to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, give it a thumbs up too. Also share the video, leave a comment below, ask me a question if you have any. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.